Alright, so we're going to adjust the clutch on this. So what we're going to do is we need to make sure that we have a 1/2 inch gap between the throwout bearing and the clutch brake. So I'm just using a 1/2 inch bolt. They make like a fork tool that you can put in there. It's just kind of like a U that goes around on both sides. But I'm just going to use a bolt. So move this around. I've already adjusted all of this, but so I got it so the bolt just fits in there very snugly. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but spec is 1/2 inch. So to change that dimension, you need to get the adjuster nut here. You probably want to get down on the bottom so it's easier to get to. Either bump the engine over or have somebody, well, you can have somebody turn the engine over. Or, I actually went through that hole right there. You could see the flywheel. I just took a pry bar and I just kept kind of prying it like a 1/4 inch at a time, and you just kind of work it, and then you get that around. So once you get the adjuster nut down, it's a 5/8 adjuster. You have to push it in towards the clutch and then rotate it. If you rotate it clockwise, it moves this bearing towards the transmission. So when you rotate that nut clockwise, this bearing will move this way and close the gap. If you rotate it counterclockwise, it'll move forward towards the pressure plate or the clutch. So once you've got that adjusted, you take a 10/1000 feeler gauge, put it between the clutch brake and the throwout bearing, and then have somebody push the clutch down until it pinches it, and it should stay in there on its own. And then you want to let the clutch up very slowly until this comes out, and then you know it's off. And then you want the pedal to release the feeler gauge between a 1/2 inch and 1 inch off of the floor, and then you'll know your linkage is adjusted. Generally, you don't have to adjust the linkage once it's set. You may have to with a new clutch, but I would imagine you probably don't. So anytime you're like readjusting your gap here, because this gap will start getting bigger and bigger, so anytime you have to readjust this, you generally don't have to redo your linkage. So to turn this adjuster nut right here, you do have to have the clutch depressed or released. So you have to press the clutch pedal down to release the clutch, because it rotates like a big threaded gear in here, and it causes the pressure plate to move in and out. And if the clutch is engaged like it is now, then it's going to put pressure on there, and all that spring pressure is going to be on that ring, and it's not going to allow you to turn it. So you do have to have the clutch depressed or disengaged to turn that adjuster. So if your clutch brake is coming off a little too early or a little too late, there is the adjuster for the linkage. So one's left-hand thread, one's right-hand thread, and you will kind of turn that center section, or right there. So you take your jam nuts off here, and then there's one on this piece of the linkage as well, and you rotate this to extend or retract your linkage length to adjust your clutch or adjust the pedal height. So that first section where you're checking the engagement of the clutch brake, when you have the feeler gauge in, you're going to have this pressed all the way down until it pinches the feeler gauge. and then you want this to measure within 1/2 inch to 1 inch off the floor where it actually lets go of the feeler gauge, and that will tell you that your clutch brake is adjusted, or the linkage is adjusted properly to use the clutch brake right. Because if the clutch brake if it doesn't engage where it's supposed to, as you start pushing the clutch in to shift gears, it's going to contact the clutch brake and it can damage it, and they usually kind of breaks the little tabs off. And then you also want to make sure that you have between 1 inch and 3 inches of free play in the pedal before you start pushing on the clutch. So, and you want at least 1 inch. So you get about 2 right there. And then you'll know your clutch is adjusted right, and everything is the way it should be. So hopefully that can help somebody. I'll put a link in the description to the setup manual, so you can view it from there. They come with the clutches, but if you're adjusting yours, this will give you the parameters. It is a little different if you don't have a clutch brake, but I don't have a truck that doesn't have a clutch brake, so they'll have those setup instructions inside that link as well. So I hope that can help somebody, and I thank you for watching.